Alright, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to today's Sec 4 E-Math lesson with me, Teacher Jason over here. So as usual, understand this is a very critical period, but let's get on to it. Let's see how I can help you further. Alright, so without further ado, let's go. Alright, so formalities as usual. Okay, just some general rules. Understand that you guys are alright with it, but just some formalities to go through. Firstly, be patient and understanding. So as certain questions are asked, I may take some time to answer these students' question or this student question, so just bear with me. Along the way, even in digital space, as you're typing, understand that you guys are okay. Just be gracious and respectful as well. And lastly, with regards to the questions that we're going through today, make sure they are good, which definitely is there as well. So I have no issues in that and relevant to today's topic as well. So today is not really a particular topic that we are going through, but rather, again, it's another mock paper that we are going to go through for our intensive lesson for another particular paper. So last 4 lessons were Set A. Today we are going to focus on Set B. Now I hope that you have gone through, managed to do some questions by yourself, but if you do not, fret not, for certain bubble questions, I may give you some time extensions along the way. So if you realize that I didn't pause for certain questions, if you realize certain questions I am taking a bit longer to launch the bubble launcher, feel free to let me know. And as usual, for certain bubble questions, or in fact, for today, it will only be 30 seconds long for you all to input the answers. Hey, but if you need longer, just feel free to type it out. Okay, I will give you that time extension accordingly. Alright, so without further ado, let me surface, let me actually go through some of the questions that I have picked that I feel is interesting, in fact, not so commonly tested. In fact, for all parts, so some of the questions may be quite simple, but because they are related, henceforth I'm linking all of them. Alright, so the first question I'm actually going to go through, it's a very typical Sec 1 topic. Okay, firstly, prime factorization. This one shouldn't be an issue, alright, 1 mark, how do you get that 1 mark over there, okay? So it's just expressing into our prime factors, but main thing to take note, strategy to do such prime factorization, we will always try to go from the lowest to the highest so that we do not miss any of them, okay? Because if you realize, and also to track the thought process as well, because if you were to track according to lowest to highest, it's an ascending order that you're checking. Instead of just picking from one over here, one over there, you're gonna get a little messy. So in this case, first one, we just try divide by 2 because that's the first prime number, okay? Then we go on until we realize, oh, we achieve 1 at the end. Then afterwards, you just combine them. It's 1, 2, so 2 times 3 to the power of 2 times 5 times 7. And where did the 1 mark come from? You have to write it like this. Okay, if you give me this one, you are not going to get the 1 mark because it's not a product. This is just a ladder they are showing me. Okay, now next one, what happens is, okay, the next one is actually more of the interesting question that I am going to go to. Okay, the next interesting question over here, okay, which is in this case, right, question 4b. Now you realize from 4a, okay, the prime factorization is already given to you already. So let me write down for you all in this case, just in case if you forgot. Okay, for those who have done, just bear with me. For those who have not, with this particular prime factorization over here, I'm going to give you about 1 minute to work this out, okay, before I launch the bubble launcher for 30 seconds. So you have 1 minute. I'll launch the bubble launcher at 2:04. Okay, 2:04, I'll launch the bubble launcher. For the rest who have done it, just bear with me for a little moment, alright? For those who did not, okay, I'll give you all some time to set this up, okay? Question 4b, I'm going to launch it in about, I'll give you all 30 seconds more, okay? I'll give you all 30 seconds more to solve this. It's because this is actually a very interesting type of a question that we are looking at. A very weirdly interesting type of question, a Sec 1 that we're looking at. Okay, so I'm going to be launching it in, say, about 15 seconds more before I give you all your input. Alright, okay, give you all the input. Okay, launching in the next 5 seconds. Right, last 4, 3, 2, 1. You have 30 seconds. Let's go. Alright, okay. Take note, what are we finding over here? That's very important. Okay, that's good. I think most of you got it down. Okay, seems like this question might be throwing some of you over here, so that's where I will discuss it. Okay, last 10 seconds for those who have yet to key in. Okay, last 3 seconds. Alright, so okay, this question can see it's a little bit tough, but I would say half of you got it down, about half. Okay, so as seen from my side over here. So how do we do this over here? Now, first things first, okay, we have to read the question carefully. The information that is given to us is as such, okay? We know that K over here, always read the information from the question first. We know that K is a number between 100 to 200. That's the first thing we need to take note, alright? Henceforth, it may bring you to the different errors that may occur. Second thing, the lowest common multiple. Now we are looking at the lowest common multiple of the two numbers we are comparing, okay? The two numbers we are comparing over here is K and 630. Not 630 and 1260. That's the first thing we have to take note. Is this one, as mentioned just now, 1260. So the lowest common multiple is 1260. So when we present it in a form that we want to make it clearer for us, we write it down as such. Okay, so I want my lowest common multiple to be, in this case, 1260. Now in this case, when we do our prime factorization, lowest common multiple, always break everything down into our prime factorization first. So in this case, 630 is given to us, so that's where we can write it down first. 1260, not sure it's okay. So we have 2 times 3 square times 5 times 7, okay? This one, I'm not solving it very quickly from thin air. It was done in part A just now, where I've gone through. If I were to solve for the lowest common multiple, you realize it's 2 square plus 3 square times 5 times 7. Now that's where, from this information, we need to find K. Based on this information, can anybody tell me a particular confirmed prime factor over here? What would it be? Based on my lowest common multiple that we are calculating, what does K have? Does anybody wants to try based on this information here? What does K have? Okay, take note. 630 is 2, but 1260 is 2 squared. So what should it be? Very good, Khadija. Anyone else? Because lowest common multiple, what should it have? That's the key information over here. Very good, Junwong. Perfect over there. Anyone else wants to give it a try? Okay, so there's something you can confirm down here. Okay, always track from the top process you have learned. Lowest common multiple. We are looking for the powers, first thing first. That is the highest, and since lowest common multiple is 2 square there, it has to be 2 square here. So good job to Khadija and Junwong, and for the rest, I hope you got this down as well, because this is the confirmed one. It is the confirmed one, as it has the highest power of 2. Take note over here, highest power of 2. But now you realize for the rest, we are not too sure, because that is the most clearest and obvious thing that it should be done. That's why we know, oh, K is this, but we have something that can help us. So that's where the next information comes into play. K, we know it's a number between 100 and 200. So it has to be greater than 100 and lesser than 200. Or maybe including them, who knows? Okay, so can we say that K, in this case, it's this number multiplied by N, where, because since this number has to be greater than 100, which is 4 of this number, let's call it N, multiplied by 100, this particular number N over here has to be greater than 25. But of course, it has to be lesser than a certain number, which you can actually do it on the other side as well. Lesser than 200. For N is lesser than 200. N is actually lesser than 50. So that's something you can look out for. So the range of values we can look out for is 25 to N to 50. So that's something we can look out for. So based on this configuration over here, it's a little bit of guessing and checking over here, I would agree. But okay, we do at least have some restrictions on numbers we can look at. So based on this information here, can anybody tell me, for the n that we are looking for, what is the smallest n, or in this case, that particular n we are looking for? What is that number that we're looking for based on these prime numbers over here? That not only has to be the smallest, but fitting in here. So I'll give you some time, think about it as I go through. So what is the smallest n? Smallest n over here, for those who got it wrong. Or I'll give you all the try. For those who got it correct, you can answer for me. I believe you have that working as well. Okay, so some of you actually answered 1 because the factor here you have answered is 2. No, it's 2 squared. So from there, work it out. What is the smallest n we are looking for? Okay, so just comparing the numbers, I'll give you some time, maybe about 211. Okay, give you some time to answer this as well. And give you some time to think about it. Okay, type in your response if you know. Alright, don't be shy. Okay, this is where we actually take the time to clarify as much as possible. Alright. Okay, so we can compare some numbers. So suppose in this case, lowest common multiple. Okay, it can be a 3 times 5, but does it give me the lowest n? Okay, so some of y'all may think about it. Alright, very good, Kahija. That's actually correct. Anyone else wants to give it a try? Okay, give it some try. I'll give you all maybe about 30 more seconds to give it a shot. Okay, good try, Denise. But if you realize if we were to do that, it's going to exceed the number we are looking for. Give it another try. There is actually a lower combination that fits in, but you got the first number right. Okay, so over here, it's a little bit of a trial and error. Okay, I would say a little bit of a trial and error, but the conditions are restricted for you really. So Denise, one of the numbers are correct. One of them is correct. Yep, that is right, Lucas Ang. That is actually correct. Okay, so the smallest n, as we figure out, yes, that's right. Okay, so based on this, now we know it's 4 times something. And the number has to be in between 25 times 50. So, okay, you have gotten it right. Okay, supposedly if we take, in this case, 45 times 4. 45 times 4. Okay, supposedly it lies in here. But if you take 45 times 4, in this case, it may fulfill here. But does it fulfill this particular number over here? Okay, 45 times 4, that gives you actually that's correct. That is actually 180. That's correct. But keyword over here, you are very close, but is that the smallest number? Is that the smallest? Okay, that is actually one of the options as well, Denise, but take note keyword, is that the smallest? So instead of 9 times 5 as is written, can I have a smaller combination that fits in as well? Remember smaller, yeah? So 9, you realize it's 9 times 5. Can I have another number that's smaller than 5? What if I do 5 times 7? It gives me 35. So that's where you realize 1 mark comes into play if you are able to identify this particular n. And henceforth, k is this. 2 square times 35. That gives you 140, which not only fulfills the criteria of between here, but it's the smallest. Your answer is correct, Denise, if it says find a possible value of k. It is a possible value, but it is not the smallest. Okay, so remember, for smallest possible value, you have to be much more careful. Is the number you're finding actually the smallest? When it comes to guess and check, you have to be very careful, because the answer that you are getting may not necessarily be the answer that is the smallest. You have to ask yourself, okay, I found a number, it fulfills this, but hey, is it really the smallest? Okay, so that's where you have to come up. Okay, so this one over here, there is no fixed way for you to try, but more or less I can give you guidance and tips in this case. Oh, okay, so you did 9 times 5. Okay, that is correct, but in fact, is there another number that can be smaller? And as well as fulfill this particular condition over here. Okay, take note, this one there is no fixed way, but because of the word smallest, we have to be extra careful when we are actually solving for the question. Alright, so just take note from here. Okay, understand, Denise, this is not very straightforward, so it's a little bit hard for you to grasp. Alright, but the tip here I can give you is, when you see the keywords over here, smallest, largest, we have to be very, very careful. Especially if the number we are getting is more of like guess and check. More of it. Okay? If it's more of guess and check, you have to tell yourself, it's the number that we are guessing and checking the only answer that we have? Can we have any other numbers smaller? Okay, no problem, Denise. That's the key over here. So 4B is a very interesting question, and that's what I want to go through. Okay, next one over here, I feel is a very interesting question. It's this question over here. Sounds like a very typical mean, median, mode question, right? Mean, median, mode, interquartile range. Very standard, but look at the question carefully. So that's where I want you to emphasize. It's very similar to 4B just now. So let's see how we can track that process. We are, in this case, trying to find, okay, I'm actually buying time for those who have not done the mock paper to do it, okay, the largest value of, in this case, this particular range of numbers here, y minus x. What is y? What is x? Okay, it's written there. And keyword over here, please do not miss any information. It's really a range for you. Very nice, this question somehow or other. But are they really that nice? So read the information. Keyword over here. If the median of the numbers is equals to my interquartile range. So I've actually speak about 1 minute or so. So I'm going to give you about 1 more minute and maybe 1 minute 30 seconds. So launch the bubble launcher at about 2:16. No, it's already 2:16, sorry. 2:17 past 30 seconds. I will launch it for you all, and let's see how we can get this done. Okay, so be very, very careful when we are solving this. Okay, I'll launch at 2:17 past 30 seconds. Okay. So the keyword, look at all the information, and we see how we can make use of that to solve. And that's where your concept of median, in this case, and interquartile range, in this case, has to be strong. In general, your basic concepts over here. Okay, in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to launch the bubble launcher, so just bear with it. For those who have the answers are waiting for me, thank you for waiting. For those who have not, just bear with me, okay? Alright, I'm going to launch it in the next 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go, launching it right now. Let's see the responses. Look at the question. A lot of you fell into the trap, yeah? Look at the question. Wow, okay, so I will need to go through this question. Last 1 second. Okay, so I will need to go through this. The hint over here, there is no error in this question. But take note, okay, a lot of you all actually chose option number 3. Now, why is option number 3 not correct? Okay, firstly, okay, most of you I think got this down. Okay, definitely in this case, you have gotten the 2 equations correct. Okay, not 2 equations, you have gotten the equation correct, which is, okay, my median over here, because it is an even data set, I have 6 data values. Okay, so that's where I have median is equals to x plus y over 2. Okay, these are no issues, alright, because it's just the middle data. You're taking the average of the 3rd and 4th value in this case. Now, what is my IQR? IQR in this case is your Q3 minus Q1. But what is Q3? What is Q1? Q3 is the middle data of the upper section, okay, upper quartile. Q1 is the middle data of the lower section of the data as such. Okay, you know what? To standardize, let me write this. Okay, so I'm going to go through this a little slower so that everyone can get it. Okay, because this is a first question that I see no one got it incorrect. So let's go through it slowly. So that's why I have Q3 minus Q1. This is equals to 42 minus 12. This is equals to 30. Question says what? Median equals to IQR. So I think you all got down to this step. And you guys say, oh, okay, let's try to figure this out. And I have x plus y is equals to 2. And you only have one equation. So again, oh my god, another guess and check. What information is going to help us? What is it? But you realize this is 3 mark. If you get to here, that's where you get your first mark, because you have taken use of this information over here. So what happens, you realize, how do we find out the value of x and y? It is these two keywords over here that's trying to help you. Ascending order. It is already given to you to be like this. So that's why you have it in ascending order. Then some of you say, oh, okay, x can be, some of you say x is 12, but then you sort of see y is another number. Then you take the subtraction. My option is that. Then, oh, okay, let's try another option. You all did x is equals to 13. Fair enough, right? Then after that, you take the other number, y. In this case, since x is 13, y is going to be 47, right? Then you take the subtraction. Oh, 34. I click the answer and then realize the answer is wrong. But 47 minus 13, isn't it 34? What is wrong over here? Now, does anybody want to give it a try? Look at the information now. Ascending order. What is not correct for what I've written over here? Give us some time to think about it, about 1 minute or so. What is not right? Correct. Jun Rong, that's actually correct. Anyone else? Like, y'all think about it. 30 more seconds. Very nice, Khadija. Okay, Jun Rong and Khadija, thank you for the note. Okay, I think you guys got it. Because what happens is, correct. In this case, the largest value. But look at the question carefully. Ascending order. After 47, is it 42? When I count ascending, is to be the lower number first, right? So in this case, when we talk about ascending order, because the number is at the left of 42, this number should be lesser, right? So that's why in this case, option number 3 is not correct. And henceforth, so some of you actually gauge from the value of x. It's a little bit hard. What if I gauge from the other side? You realize if you work from x, 12, 13, 14, you're not getting a particular value. So what if I work from y in this case? So let's take a look in this case. Okay, so let's work from y. Does it work now? Okay, take note, it has to be ascending order. Because if you work from x, you're not really getting the number. So let's go the other way now. Okay, because we cannot fix is that. Because y, are you sure? Take note, in this case, ascending order. Okay, that's where it's the hardest part. 41 can be correct as well, but 41 can be correct as well, but if you realize y is 41, x is in this case, okay, will be 19. It's correct. This gives you 22. But you realize over here, 22 as well is not the biggest. That's where, oh teacher, why is it like this? Why are you tricking me? So what is the largest can y go to? What is the largest can y go to? Because I want to find the largest value of y. Because when ascending, right? When I talk about ascending numbers, say for example, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's still in ascending order because it's increasing. So yes, that's right, Denise, you've gotten it now. This number, if I write it to be 42 in this case. Okay, so let's talk about this in this case. If my y is now 42, that's where I have x plus 42 is equals to 60. X is equals to 18. So does it fulfill? Okay, let's try. So x is equals to 18. That's the best we can go already because y cannot be more already. It cannot be 43. Y the highest is 42. So that's where x is 18, y it's 42. That is actually the actual combination, and y minus x is actually 42 minus 18 equals to 24. So this is the answer over here. I agree with you, this question is hard, okay? So that's where the thought process can come in. Okay, think about it. Largest value of y minus x. How do I get the largest value? It's either this x over here is the smallest, or my y over here is the largest. Work from there, you will get the values over here as much as you can. So that's how I get to this thought process over here. So unfortunately, these questions over here may not be the most straightforward. Now the only thing I can help you over here is try to see how we can work through the information based on what is given. In this context over here, largest value, y, either it being the largest, see whether it fulfills this, or x being the smallest, see how it fulfills over this. Okay, such questions, not very straightforward, so in the end later there's a Q&A. If you need me to go through, just let me know. Okay, now this is an interesting one. Okay, so I hope you have learned something from this. And moving on to my next one over here, as such. Now you realize over here, my next question, very interesting. It's not really a geometrical construction question, but if you realize, this concept actually stems from a geometrical construction questions in a written form. Okay, why do we go through this? Because one, it's hard for us to gauge the drawing because we require the dimensions. If you screenshot for us, it's hard to see what is the original image you're working with. So it's hard for us to measure. So this is another way, maybe in exams you might see, maybe this year I'm not too sure, that they may test geometrical constructions but in written form. So how do we stem from it? A point that is equidistant from Q and R. This part over here is actually what happens. Okay, equidistant from Q and R. What are we drawing here? This part over here is actually your perpendicular bisector. And equidistant from PR and QR. Two different things over here. One is a point that is equidistant from Q and R. So this is equidistant. Any point here is equidistant. If you draw a line, your perpendicular bisector. The second one is interesting because it's equidistant from two lines. Now, how can we gauge whether it's equidistant from two lines over here? If you recall your geometrical construction concept, it's actually your angle bisector. Okay, so that's another way they can test you. So based on these two, if you draw the lines, usually the next context is, this question usually break down into three parts. If you realize, part one, they will ask you to draw the perpendicular bisector. Sorry, part one. Part two, angle bisector. Part three, points of intersection. And yeah, find the point of intersection. 3 marks over here. Yeah, of course with the dimensions drawn, but in this case, there's no dimensions given, so you don't have to draw. But over here, the reverse happens. Note that the point that's equidistant from Q and R, this gives you a perpendicular bisector. Okay. Firstly, how to know this? Okay, firstly you can start from the midpoint. Okay, and from the midpoint up and down, you realize you're getting a line. To get the midpoint, it has to be a line that's perpendicular and the distance between them has to be equal. That's how you get a perpendicular bisector. First part. Equidistant from PR and QR. Now, how do I get to that? So, if I were to think about it, PR and QR, what is the way to get it equidistant? So, from here, you realize equidistant is not just say, oh, I have a point, I follow through. It is a point on this line. Okay, I hope this makes it a bit clearer. And a point on this line. And as you draw, the distance between these 2 points has to be equal. So in this case, okay, I'm making it a little bit complex, but I hope in this case, let's say this one. Okay, let me just draw. It's not this one. Let's say this one has to be equals to this one. So the only way to gauge it as you picture is, let's say this part over here and this part over here, when this line is open up. So when I open up two lines like this, when the distances are equal, they have to move the same distance until they meet. And what do they form? You realize, before I meet them, they have to form a certain angle and they move at the same time. So as this move, it forms an angle. As this moves again, it forms another angle. And that's where I can say, oh, these two angles are equal. Making these two angles are equal means my original angle is sort of divided into two. That's why it's the angle bisector. So I hope you understand from there. And lastly, that's the different part, points of intersection. So this is one interesting question here that I want to go through. It can be the other way. Okay, again, if you need me to go through question 7 again, feel free to let me know, or you can type it out along the way. Okay, now, next one over here that I want to go through as well. Okay, very typical real world context example that we always try to keep it out to hand over here. We may brush it off. Why so? So in August, both of them sold the same item for the same price. That is where you realize this sentence over here. Branch out to this sentence. September, store A discount the price by 20%. Okay, that's where you get 0.8 because discount 20% means, okay, it's 80% of this price. Store B, what do they do? Okay, we further discount the price by 20%. Now that is the main focus over here that some of you may got it wrong. Okay, in fact over here, main focus. Because when we take further discount, it's not 0.8 minus 0.2. We are taking, okay, 80% of this 80% over here. So be very, very careful over here. And this actually gives you 0.64x. Okay, so be very, very careful over here, guys. Okay, we are taking 0.8 times 0.8, which then gives you the different answer when we are actually taking straight away 40%. So be very careful over here. That's where we get this over here. Be very, very careful. This is the 40% that is deducted, so hence on 60%. So therefore the answer is that he is not correct, which is often taken into consideration even if you like scenarios. So you thought, oh, 20%, and then we take 20% again. Total is a 40% reduction. No. 20% gives you this. Taking 20% with reference to this is multiplying this number 0.8. So this is the key factor that I want you all to realize, that these two are not the same, and henceforth his claim is not correct because they are not the same. And in fact, you can further reiterate by saying that the price in B, by taking 40% straight, is actually lower. And this is just a coincidence actually, but okay, the price of the item is in fact lower. We can reiterate this. So therefore, how the 4 marks are received: 1 mark for doing the 0.8, next crucial mark doing the 0.8. On top of this, another mark. Third mark, straightforward, we do it for just 0.6 because it's a total deduction of 40%. Lastly, take note, don't happy, it's not correct because of this. No. Whenever it comes to a proof question, the most important thing, guys, is to finalize your findings with a sentence. That is the most important thing when it comes to a proving question. Okay? So take note, this is a key factor that got this down. So very important to take note. Okay? So I understand you may be a bit hard for you to reply, but I hope you are taking this down as we are going through this. Okay? Now next question looks very, very, very similar to what you have seen in the specimen paper. Alright? For those who have done the specimen paper for the Sec 4 E-Math one, it's very, very similar. Let's see how we do this over here. Okay, so I'm gonna give you, okay, for this one I can't give you all too long. I'll give you 1 minute. I'll launch the bubble launcher at 2:34. Alright, so for the rest, thank you for waiting. At 2:34, I will launch the bubble launcher and we will begin here. So 2:34, alright, so this is a very similar question, alright, concept more or less the same, but I want to see whether you understand based on how we are doing this. Okay, I'm going to launch it in the next 20 seconds. Launching it in 3 and 2 and 1. Let's go. Alright, give it your best shot. I understand this question is rather hard for those who did the specimen paper. This question is more or less the same. Just that, want to see whether you actually got this down. Same concept, what I mean, but the concept over here, it's a little bit different. Okay, last 5 seconds, give it your best shot. Okay, so this question a little bit better than the previous one, but I think some of you all actually sort of gave up because you may wonder, this is only 3 marks. I don't know anything. Okay, so I've had to let this be a variable, use of interior angles, so many things. How do I do the 3 marks? Let's try to see what we know. Okay, so some of you, when you see a pentagon, triangle, this concept of interior angles may come into play. So you all may do. Okay, so let's find out the sum of the angles of the pentagon. So in fact, all the angles first. So sum of the interior angles in this case, take note, it's a pentagon, so it's 5 minus 1. Okay, so for some of y'all who answered question 3, you might do 6 minus 1. So 5 minus 2, sorry. Multiply by 180 degrees. This is equals to 540. And when I'm talking about the interior angles over here, I'm talking about, in this case, my green color angles over here. So next up, okay, if we were to write this down, there is no marks given because this is a property, they're just copying and pasting. But over here, you can do angle sum of triangles. Okay, it's 180, whereby I have this, which is in this case, red one over here. So with this notion, can anyone tell me how would I solve if I have the interior angles in a pentagon and the sum of triangles? You don't have to know whether it's an you don't have to know whether it's a regular pentagon to solve this, because it's sum of interior angles in a pentagon. So no matter irregular or regular, will my general formula works. The formula will get affected, Denise, if I say it's an exterior angle, because for exterior angles, all the exterior angles, if it's regular, everyone will be the same. If it's non-regular, that is the issue when we talk about exterior angles. But the angles inside, no matter how I position it, say in this case my pentagon like this, I sum all of them up. Okay, let's say this is 90. Okay, there are 5 angles, right? 5 sides, so no matter how I arrange it, will the angles inside, if I sum it up, be the same? And Isabel, yep, that is actually correct for the next statement. Good job over there. But Denise, do you understand what I mean for my interior angles? Yes, you got this down. So one key point we learned there. When we talk about interior angles, only interior angles, when we sum them. In fact, for exterior angles as well, it's the same. But the only difference, Denise, okay, don't get confused. The only difference is, if it's irregular, if we were to find for each interior angle, yes, that's right, each interior angle or each exterior angle of a irregular polygon, it will be different. Does it make sense now? Okay, while writing out, I think Denise has gotten it right. Okay, so in order to sum them, you realize each one of them, if we take it as angles at a point, which is in this case 6 times 360. Yep, that's right. Minus my angles over here. This part over here is going to give you, okay, 2160. So for those who answered 2, it's just angles at the point. Minus 720. Those who answered 3 is just the sum of the angles there. This gives you 1440. And henceforth answer is 1. Okay, so the more the story learned, okay, as such. Then you may wonder, teacher, how do you get to all these steps? There are other methods to do so. So some of you actually do, okay, say maybe if you want to find for my angles over here, so you do some algebra involved, okay? So maybe let's say, hey, let's say this angles is x. So r minus x, then you have s minus y, something like that. T plus z, something like that, okay? And you want to do algebra like that. Algebra in that manner, sorry for that. Okay, sure, you can do it, but you realize your working may not be worth 3 marks. So that's where you have to branch out and see, oh, okay, what are the certain things I can do to actually efficiently do my working based on the amount of marks that is given here. If you have known this, you have won half the battle. Alright, this is the hardest way to do it, and that's why we are crafting through mock papers, because certain questions, there is no specific way to do it. Okay, we have to be familiarized with the basic concepts, which is, okay, how you realize how do I start for this question is, okay, I know that some of the interior angles, okay, I know there's pentagons. Okay, so when it comes to pentagons, you just try to throw formulas. Interior angles, okay, I know angle sum of triangle. Annotate your diagrams, draw them out, and you'll see, doesn't this look like angles at the point? So that's where your basic concepts here have to be rather strong. Sorry for the hiccup there. Have to be rather strong. Okay? Because that's where you know, okay, if you were to throw all these concepts inside, annotate my diagram in a most efficient manner, you can see in a bigger picture how we can sort of utilize other information that we have. Okay, so again, these questions are not so straightforward, so therefore I'm here to emphasize a bit more. Okay, again, if you need further help, Q&A, I will help you all a little bit more. Okay, now next question I want to go through. Okay, this one, the reason why I put this question here, because it's a follow-up. This one over here should be quite straightforward. Percentage of students whose favorite sport is badminton. They give you a pie chart. Not pie chart. Is this a pie chart? Pie chart over here. Pie chart in this case with the angles given. So we are initially, or in fact, we are just finding the proportions of the angles here. Here you see, so badminton is 126. Okay, total angle is 360. So we are just finding the proportions, and they want percentage. Give it to them. This is your 1 mark. This one rather straightforward. But the next part is the more interesting part over here. Okay, more interesting part over here, which is, if you refer to the question, this statement is actually not correct. But why is it not correct? Okay, so I'm gonna give you all 30 seconds extra to look at this. Okay, this one you actually don't have to do any working. It's just looking at this statement and ask yourself, why is this statement not correct given the information here? Okay, so I'm gonna launch the bubble launcher pretty soon. Let's see how we fare at 241. 242. I'll give you all the 242. Okay, Denise, give me some time to read your statement, yeah? Okay, while I wait. Okay. Yes, that is exactly what I mean. To add on as well, each interior angle for irregular polygons will be different as well. Okay, not just exterior, but in each interior angle as well. Okay, I'm going to launch the bubble launcher right now. Sorry for that. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, is this clear for you, Denise? Okay, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. I really want you to type out and ask. Okay, so if you need time to type out, okay, even if the question is further away, but if you type it out, okay, as long as I can answer for you, I'll be more than happy to answer for you. Okay, very good. That's good. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. Okay, very nice. I think most of you got it down. There's a good note over here. So the first reason is, okay, if you want to determine the number of students first, okay, 8 more students, we have to know what's the total first, right? So suppose, let's say I see how many ice creams are sold, okay, but I don't know what's the total number of ice creams are sold. Then in the end, I just say, oh, that vanilla is more popular than strawberry because 8 more of them are sold. Then I'm like, okay, yes, I agree, but how do you get the 8? Do you even know what is the total amount of ice cream sold first? So that's why in this case, number 1 and number 2 is not correct. Okay, 1 and 2 are not correct because the total number of students is not given. This is the error over here. Okay, it's not given. This is the error. Okay, what I'm highlighting is the error. But take note of the keyword over here. Okay, is it 8 degrees or is it 8%? That is why the pie charts in the units, it's very, very important, which therefore this is my answer, because pie chart we are looking at 8 degrees. Okay, so when we look at comparison, we have to know what's the actual total number first. Because if we don't know what's the actual total number, how do we know that the subtraction we are doing is actually 8? Okay, so that is the key important part over here when we want to do comparison. In this case, the total number has to be said. Okay, that's very important over here, which I think you all got this down. Very good. Okay, next one over here, afterwards is more or less very algebraic. The next few examples over here, which I want to see whether you all can get this down. Okay, so next one, again, let's just see whether you remember algebraic notion over here. Okay, I'll give you 1 minute and 30 seconds to try this, or 1 minute in fact before I launch this bubble launcher. Straightforward question, but in fact I still want to go through because I want to actually see whether you guys are very receptive to the word simplify. Okay, seems like a very simple question, but okay, it is a straightforward, I won't say simple, straightforward question, but I actually want to see when we talk about the word simplify, how much are we talking about? Okay, I'm going to launch the bubble launcher at 2:45, past 30 seconds. Okay, 2:45 past 30 seconds, that's where I'll launch the question. Okay, this should be rather okay. Okay, and also the first thing to help you is you can actually write the fraction down first. Do not start from the working so they can track your process. Okay, I'm going to launch it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go. So far you guys are doing well, and again, based on my lessons, remember I'm going for progression, not really on perfection. Okay, as I'm talking about, take note, we want to be as perfect as possible, but progress is more important. I actually want you all to know what you guys do not know so that we can change the errors from there. Okay, last 7 seconds. Okay, let's see. Alright, so you realize some of them may wonder, teacher, 1, 2, and 3 are essentially the same answers. For the ones who answered 4, okay, you might have gotten into the last step but cancelled the wrong term. 1, 2, and 3 are essentially the same steps, but why are they not correct? Take note, key lesson to know here. When we talk about simplify, suppose this question over here. We want to make sure that when we actually factorize our terms, first one over here, you can use a multiplication frame, you can use a factorization table. First part, you should get to this part over here. And then first one, you may not see, oh, I can take out the 3 first, makes things simple. Then you realize, oh, some of yours stop here. But is this simple enough? Is this the most simplified that we can get? Because when you talk about simplify, it is always best to make sure we simplify it as much as we can till we cannot do it anymore. So that's where first mark over here is to simplify the top and the bottom. Second mark, you realize at the bottom, I can simplify a little bit more, right? A squared minus B squared. Your A is X, B is 4y. Okay, take note, your B is 4y, because that's where I have X minus 4y, X plus 4y. Okay, that is the second part. Then you realize, oh teacher, I've simplified it enough. Why am I still wrong if I answer option number 1? It's not enough, because I can simplify further by doing this, and that is the most simplified we can get to. And this is your answer mark. Okay, so the notion of simplify is that when we are cancelling and factorizing our terms until we cannot do it anymore, which is this one. So when we talk about simplify, key thing over here, cancel, factorize as much as you can until it is not possible to cancel any terms, factorize out any terms already. Okay, so that's the notion of simplify. Okay, now following up from there, that's where we talk about simplify. This will help you out in solving as well. Because when we solve this, essentially it's the same notion over here. We are working with these fractions over here with the notion, remember, when we want to do this, always remember, join, expand, simplify. And I understand you may wonder, teacher, your annotation sounds like 3 marks. Why do you write 2 marks here? Okay, because in the paper it's written 2 marks, but apologies over here. In the mock paper, by right, this should be 3. So just take note, okay? In this case, 2 marks, because to align with the mock paper that is given to you, by actual fact, it will be 3 marks. Why? First one, join up the fractions. Then simplify. Next one, expand it out by cross multiplying over here. So this one goes here, this one goes here. Lastly, next up, simplify to get to your answer. Okay, so in this case, go to these 3 magic words over here. We join, we sort of expand it out, okay, expand it out over here. So this is the expand part, but we can also sort of expand over here, okay. This is your expand. And the third mark over here is more of simplify, okay. So over here, the next step onwards is we are simplifying from here all the way down. So from here onwards, we are doing our simplification. But the mark comes in to show that, oh, you can actually cross multiply, because by cross multiplying, you are also simplifying the terms. So just take note from there. Alright, just take note from there. Okay, so from here, okay, your typical join, expand, simplify, just take note from there as accordingly. Next up, okay, again with algebra, how do we solve our equations? Let's level down a little bit, but let's bring in a diagram over here. So 2 marks, how do we show? Perimeter of a sector is given. But what forms the perimeter of this particular sector? Sector angle of 2.6 radians and radius of RCM. So this is RCM. This is my 2.6 radian. So perimeter of a sector, don't happy, okay, because it's radian, you just do, oh, okay, I just need to do R theta. Take note, it's not just R theta, because R theta over here is just this part. Okay, it's just this part. It's just this. Let me just draw first. It's just this part. We need to consider the lines that surrounds my sector in order to form my perimeter. So it's actually this one, the round surface, and this one over here. That forms my perimeter, and this gives you 1 mark because you form the equation. The rest of it is to simplify further. Okay, so I'll not go through the simplification. Look at it accordingly to get to what you want. Okay. Now the next important part is actually what I want to do as a bubble question, because that is where, again, when all the information comes into play, and of course for those who do not do, I'll give you some time. We know from part A that R is 7.3. Now before I actually write this down for you, let me just check. Okay, very nice. R is 7.3. So how do we actually solve this when this information over here is given to us? Okay, the area of the sector over here, remember my key information. This one is what we need to work with. 2, take note, find the slant height of the cone. Now, how do we find the slant height with this? Read the question carefully. I'll launch it in the next 30 seconds, 2:53. Okay, for those who have already started doing while I'm teaching ahead. Alright. I'll launch the bubble launcher at 2:53. Okay, 2:53. Okay, I'm launching it in the next 5 seconds. Okay, let's go. Let's see my answers, alright? Okay, that is good. I think this one, most of y'all should get it down. Alright, but take note. Remember your formula, guys. Remember to see the lines, okay? So take note. Okay, remember the key important information that I've written for you? Okay, area, you have about 10 seconds. Area of my sector is equals to the curve surface area of the cone. Okay, that's the first thing. Let me see the responses that I have. Okay, so most of you got it down. That's good, but I see a mixture of errors between 2 particular options over here. Let's take a close look. Curved surface area of the cone. Now, area of the sector. What is the radius given to you in the question? Or why am I giving you part A? Because for the sector, I'm referring to this sector with R. Okay, so the radius is not for this sector. It's for this one. This 7.3 should come here. So that's why some of you make the mistake, and henceforth it should be half 7.3 square, half r square theta, because it's given in radians. So 2.6, and this is equals to curved surface area pi. That's where your 5 comes into play. Because the 5, it's for the code, and then L. Once you get this down, that's your normal simplification. 5 pi L is equals to 69277. Again, it will be a string of digits. But again, intermediate answers, I believe this tip has been gone through with your... Okay, take note, just leave it to 5 significant to 7 significant figures to play safe. Then from there, we work from L. L is in this case 69277 over 5 pi. This is then equals to, again, you'll get a string of digits 4.410310, round off 441. Okay, summarize it nicely. Therefore, we know that the slant height of the cone is equals to 441 cm. Alright, so that's the answer. So most of you all got the relations down, that's good, but take note, look at the question carefully. Okay, radius for 5, it's for the cone over here. Right, radius for the 5 is for my cone over here. Let me just rub this away. Radius for my 5 is for my cone over here. Okay, it's a little bit uneven. Yes, okay, so just remember to look at the information. So the reasons why I create these questions, it's the information that's given. Okay, I just have 2 more questions before we are done, so don't worry about it again. Okay, so next up, last 2 questions. Again, the word factorize. So simplification, when we talk about factorize, it's the same thing. When we simplify, when we factorize, we try to do it as complete as possible. In fact, this one is more obvious, alright? Completely. So all we need to do, this is a very, very typical question for factorization by grouping. Okay, so if you were to do, in this case, some of you will actually stop here. Some of you will actually, hey, I have done up to this step, I can stop here. This is 2 marks, so if you do up to here, you only get 1 mark because this particular term here is actually common between the 2. So we need to bring it up and make sure in this case, to make things simple and make things more straightforward for you, usually we write the extracted term. This is what we call the extracted term because it is brought out for the 2 terms in common, whereby extracted term, it's at the left hand side, or should I say at the front? Okay, should I say at the front? I think it's easier at the front, so at the left hand side. So when we factorize, we try to do it as completely as possible. Okay, last question that I want to go through. Same notion over here, but sometimes it may not be so straightforward as just grouping them. It can be something like this. So you might have to do some other stuff over here that we need to do it over here. That we need to do. Okay, so for this one, just nice, I will launch the bubble launcher at 2:58 past 45 seconds. Okay, a bit exact, but I'll just give you some time. When I feel it's right, I will launch the bubble launcher. Same thing over here. Write the expression down. Okay, give you some time. This is actually the last question I want to go through for today. If any of the questions are not gone through during your mock paper, feel free to ask them in the Genie Ask platform, alright, or the teachers in Genie Ask. They'll be more than happy to answer your queries, alright? But otherwise, I will launch the bubble launcher in the next 15 seconds. Alright, 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Alright, let's go. Let's finish this strong, alright? Okay, I do have my responses here. Okay, so I do see where my common responses are. That's good. Okay, so there's no, let me just see. There's no major errors over here. That's good. Alright. Last 5 seconds. Alright, okay, that's good. Okay, so take note. Okay, so there's no major errors over here. That's good. So most of your indices rule are quite strong. So I'm glad to see that. But, okay, some of you actually gave me up to options number 3. Now, why is option number 3 not correct? Because of the word completely, and even though completely is not there, there's a risk of you losing your marks. So my first mark comes in on factorizing my 7. That's the most obvious one. Next one, you realize if I were to break it up this way, a square minus b square, then be like, oh teacher, I've actually done my a square minus b square over here. Isn't this enough? I've done it once already, teacher. Why isn't it enough? Because completely means, what about this term? Your a square minus b square concept, where, or in this case, let me use x square minus y square over here, will be that x is my a, y is my b. So you have to do the additional step and making sure that all particular identities can be used. You should use all particular identities. Factorize your a plus b square, a minus b square, a square minus b square. Particular concepts can be used as much as possible until we cannot use it anymore. Take note, this is plus, not minus, so we stop it here. And this is your final answer. So take note of the notions over here. And to summarize everything, okay, you realize certain questions, a lot of concepts may come into play. So my tip for today is, if we are able to look at a question and identify the concepts for a particular question, it will help you determine your strategy. In fact, remember for the polygons question, the ones with the pentagon and the triangle, this will help you a lot if you can identify the main concepts. Okay, so for polygons example, you zoom into interior angles, and this is where you can zoom into those particular concepts. Alright, that is actually it for me today. Alright, thank you very much for attending this particular mock paper section, part 1. So next lesson, it will be mock paper B, part 2. I hope that most of you will attend the mock paper so that it can be more streamlined for you. Okay, but otherwise, if there's no time, don't worry, we'll cater to that accordingly. But then again, thank you very much. This is Teacher Jason signing off, and I'll see you next week for the second part of the mock paper. Alright, thank you everyone, take care, bye bye.